It seems like just yesterday we were talking about how weird Comet 3I Atlas was behaving as it approached the Sun, and now it's already happened. The last thing we saw before it disappeared behind the Sun was something that no one expected, a sudden shift in its orbit. But now it is back and it's not looking like anything we have ever seen before. To be clear, we do want to have any pictures of it yet, because getting images of comets takes time and we are still waiting for some of the more detailed close-up views from our robotic explorers. But the data we do have from ground-based telescopes and other spacecraft is already showing us that there are some very strange things going on with this comet, and they're re-happening way sooner than anyone expected. And when I say strange, I mean beyond strange. We have not seen anything like this before. So let's see what's really going on here. It seems like just yesterday we were talking about how weird Comet 3I Atlas was behaving as it approached the Sun, and now it's already happened. The last thing we saw before it disappeared behind the Sun was something that no one expected, a sudden shift in its orbit. But now it is back and it's not looking like anything we have ever seen before. To be clear, we do not have any pictures of it yet, because getting images of comets takes time and we are still waiting for some of the more detailed close-up views from our robotic explorers. But the data we do have from ground-based telescopes and other spacecraft is already showing us that there are some very strange things going on with this comet, and they're re-happening way sooner than anyone expected. And when I say strange, I mean strange. We have not seen anything like this before. Comet 3I Atlas was first sighted in 2019 and was given its official name by the International Astronomical Union. It was discovered by the Atlas project, hence the 3I in its name, and while the initial designation was C2019Y4, later observations revealed that it wasn't an icy visitor from the distant outer solar system, but rather a rocky object that originated much closer to home. This isn't your typical asteroid though. While many stony bodies orbit the Sun in between Mars and Jupiter, 3I Atlas has been kicking up dust and gas along its path, indicating that it contains more volatiles than your standard asteroid. Now, we aren't exactly sure what the heck is going on with this object. Its orbit looks suspiciously like a comet, but it doesn't seem to fit the definition of one. As far as astronomers can tell, it's about half a mile wide and doesn't have a tail, but it does seem to be releasing gas and dust into space. And based on those features, they've chosen to classify it as a comet anyway. As it turns out, 3I Atlas probably formed from material that was left over after the formation of Jupiter, and instead of sticking around in the asteroid belt, it migrated inward toward the Sun, perhaps due to gravitational interactions with the giant planet. This caused the icy rock to warm up, which triggered the release of gases like water vapor and carbon dioxide. Now that it's close enough to the Sun, the radiation pressure is causing those gases to form a thin, fuzzy coma around the asteroid. But it gets even weirder. After the last time it swung by the Sun in 2022, it started acting more and more like a comet, even though it's not one. As it continued on its orbit, its speed increased and it began releasing a steady stream of gas and dust. When scientists saw these changes, they realized that something odd was going on and that whatever was happening had never been observed before. The team realized that the only explanation was that the rocky body was undergoing some sort of transformation. Whatever it was becoming more active and emitting more gas and dust than any asteroid we had ever seen before. The reason for this behavior remains unknown. But we finally got a clue when it passed between the Earth and the Moon in February 2023. That time, scientists got to use the James Webb Space Telescope to take a look at the comet before it disappeared behind the Sun, and what they saw shocked them. In a paper published in April 2023, they revealed that it had two lobes. The first one looked like your typical coma, a roundish cloud of gas and dust surrounding the asteroid, but the second one was unusual. It was shaped like a triangle and had never been observed on any other comet before. Scientists aren't quite sure what causes this change in shape, but regardless of what it is, it shows us that there is a lot more to 3I Atlas than meets the eye, and all of this weirdness has affected the space around it too. That's right, the comet is leaving its mark on the cosmos. Not only is it changing itself, but it's changing everything in its path. Some of the rocks that it has kicked up have created temporary satellites that are orbiting the Sun alongside the Earth, and others have begun falling toward the planet Mercury. But that's not the strangest thing it has done to the space around it. There are several other asteroids in the inner solar system whose orbits have been affected by 3I Atlas. In the last few years, scientists have noticed that some of their paths have changed slightly, which indicates that they may have had a close encounter with the strange comet. There could be more asteroids that have been affected as well, but since they haven't been tracked precisely, we don't know if that's the case or not. While we may never know what caused the changes to their trajectories, we do know that they will continue to feel the effects of the gravitational disturbance. For example, one of the asteroids named 2020 XL5 will continue to spiral inward until it either gets burned up in the Sun or collides with Mercury, and that won't happen for another 700 years or so. Now, while it might be tempting to blame all of these effects on the comet alone, that wouldn't be fair. Most asteroids in the inner solar system are tightly packed in with one another and regularly jostle each other out of their orbits. It's a natural consequence of existing in such close proximity to one another. However, it's not entirely clear whether or not 3I Atlas has had a similar effect, since we've never seen any asteroid affect its surroundings quite like this before. While the orbits of some asteroids are slowly changing, others are being flung out into the cold darkness of the outer solar system. One such asteroid named 2015 TC25 was first spotted back in 2015 and remained fairly inconspicuous until earlier this year. In March of 2023, scientists noticed that its orbit had shifted outward by 10 million miles. It had moved faster than any asteroid ever known to mankind, and it didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, the gravitational tugging continued and the asteroid began moving even faster, leaving the asteroid belt entirely. Now, it is important to note that 2015 TC25 isn't the only asteroid that has been affected by the gravitational pull of 3I Atlas. In fact, it's just the most obvious one because the two objects have the same orbital period. They have likely been interacting with each other for hundreds of millions of years. And during that time, they've traded places multiple times. As a result, the asteroid has traveled from the inner solar system all the way out to Pluto and back again. And while we don't know for sure how long it will take, scientists estimate that it could take as little as 600 years for the gravitational pull of the comet to send it even farther out into the solar system. So it seems like 3I Atlas has already left its mark on the solar system, but it's about to leave a much bigger one. That's because as it swings by the sun later this month, it will leave behind a massive cloud of debris. According to scientists, it could be as much as 186 miles across. If you think that sounds huge, you're right, it is. To put it into perspective, that's about 300 American football fields lined up side by side. And as this wall of dust and gas rushes through space, it could collide with other asteroids, sending them off course. In fact, according to some estimates, it could send as many as 1,000 asteroids hurtling through the solar system at speeds of up to 6.8 miles per second. And while it might sound like a good thing that all of these asteroids are being pushed away from the sun, it's not. You see, the inner solar system needs these asteroids. They're a crucial part of the ecosystem. For example, the rocky bodies provide a habitat for microorganisms that live inside of them, and when they crash into other asteroids, they help to replenish the surface with organic molecules. But the most important thing that they do is help planets like Earth form. Scientists believe that most of the water on our planet came from asteroids that crashed into it early in its history. Of course, all of this is just speculation, but without these asteroids, life as we know it may not exist. So while it might be fun to watch 1,000 asteroids go flying, it's not exactly good news for the rest of the solar system. And that's not all. All of this dust and gas that it leaves behind will also have a negative effect. For example, it could cause major disruptions to the orbits of smaller asteroids, which could lead to collisions with larger ones. It could also trigger the release of more dust and gas from other asteroids, creating a chain reaction that could eventually engulf the entire solar system. So while we might think that 3I Atlas is just a small comet zipping around the sun, it's actually capable of causing some serious damage. In the end, it may be best to just leave the space rocks alone. Who knows what kind of chaos they'll unleash next. We've seen two interstellar objects visit our solar system before, Oumuamua and 2I Borisov. Both were probably chunks of rock and dust kicked off by some long-forgotten planetary system-wide smash-up. And both were studied in detail by scientists eager to learn more about where they came from and what they might tell us about the formation of our solar system and planets. But neither of those interstellar interlopers was shaped like a pancake batter or caused any astronomers to posit that we might have stumbled upon alien technology in deep space. That honor goes to this newcomer 3I Atlas. This latest interstellar object is a little different. It's only the third interstellar object we've ever spotted, but it has already been the source of more controversy than the first two had combined. It also bears an uncanny resemblance to a certain interstellar visitor that many astronomers say was no interstellar visitor at all, but rather a probe sent here intentionally by some advanced civilization. What if 3I Atlas is also a deliberately placed piece of alien tech? Well, it could be just cosmic debris, but according to scientists who believe it's something more, this interstellar object could be one of the greatest discoveries in human history. Let us dive into what makes this space rock so strange and why some experts think it might not be a rock at all. 3I Atlas was discovered in February 2019, making it the third interstellar object ever found in our solar system. Like the others, it comes from somewhere beyond our sun and will pass through our solar system before continuing on its journey. The first interstellar object to make this journey was Oumuamua in October 2017. Its path took it really close to the sun, which allowed scientists to study it and determine that it wasn't dangerous. Then in December 2019, the second interstellar object arrived, 2I Borisov. Again, it passed close to the sun, which allowed scientists to closely observe it and determine that it was just a regular old rock. So when the third interstellar object arrived in February 2019, scientists thought they were pretty well prepared, but they were wrong. Not only did this rock take a very different trajectory around the sun, but its shape and movement were utterly bizarre. As far as scientists can tell, 3I Atlas isn't going around the sun at all. Instead, it's doing a sort of handstand move. It's tumbling end over end with a reddish-brown side facing away from the sun. Now, that itself isn't all that strange. Most asteroids tumble as they move through space, but how 3I Atlas is tumbling is what makes it different. It's spinning at around 15 degrees per second, and because of that speed it won't stop flipping for thousands of years. It doesn't have a consistent orientation in space, unlike the other interstellar objects, and it's moving erratically, which is why scientists haven't been able to determine exactly what it looks like. The only images we have are from the Atlas and Pan-STARRS telescopes, and they only show us one side of the object. Since the rock is speeding along at 46 miles per second, that means its appearance is constantly changing. For comparison, the first interstellar object, Oumuamua, wasn't tumbling. It was moving through space in a nice smooth manner, which is what led scientists to conclude that it was a hunk of rock or perhaps a big chunk of nitrogen ice. Meanwhile, 2I Borisov was rotating but still moving pretty predictably until it got too far from the sun for us to track. So why is 3I Atlas behaving so weirdly? There are two possible explanations. It could be that this particular asteroid was formed in a really turbulent way and has just always tumbled like this. Or it could be that something interesting is happening to it. Some scientists think there's a better explanation for what we're seeing. They think that someone put 3I Atlas into its current position on purpose. And that brings us back to that interstellar object we mentioned earlier, comet Oumuamua. When scientists first observed that strange tumbling motion, they wondered if they were looking at an alien spacecraft. Sure, it could be a big icy rock, but why was it tumbling like that? And why did it speed up near the sun instead of slowing down? Some people even suggested that it was a giant alien spaceship sent here from another civilization. Now, scientists have mostly agreed that it was probably just a big hunk of nitrogen ice that had broken off some other icy world and gotten stuck in its weird tumbling position. But what if that's not the case? What if Oumuamua was actually an alien ship and 3I Atlas is another one? Maybe they're part of the same mission. Maybe there's a whole fleet of these things out there. Well, this idea might sound totally outlandish, but hear us out. If that is the case, then we should expect this interstellar visitor to behave in a similar way to Oumuamua. And so far, 3I Atlas does seem to be following in its predecessor's footsteps. Both are roughly the same size. Both appear to be made of the same dark reddish material, and both are tumbling through space in odd ways. What's more, 3I Atlas seems to have behaved similarly to Oumuamua. As it approached the sun, just like the first interstellar object, this one accelerated as it approached our star. Normally, an object approaching the sun gets slowed down by its gravity, but 3I Atlas sped up by about 4.8 miles per hour. Now, this change in speed isn't anything dramatic, but it's enough to suggest that the object could be accelerating under the influence of some sort of engine. This idea is still pretty controversial. Many scientists insist that 3I Atlas is just a chunk of space junk, while others think there's definitely something artificial about it. It looks like a pancake and it behaves like one, too. But why would anyone make it look that way? Some scientists suggest that it could be a probe designed to collect data. You know how scientific satellites are always being launched to check out some new part of space. Well, 3I Atlas could be doing the same thing. We don't know what kind of technology aliens have developed, but maybe they've figured out how to send probes hurtling through the universe to gather information. If that's the case, it would explain why it has such an unusual shape. A normal satellite would probably be a sphere. It's the most efficient shape in terms of weight and balance. But 3I Atlas is like half a pancake. It's been flattened on one side, which makes it less stable and more likely to tumble. That instability might be the point. Perhaps it's designed to roll or flip so that it can take in more data. Another possibility is that it's trying to avoid detection. When you think of a UFO, you might imagine a flying saucer zipping around the sky, easy to spot due to its weird shape. But what if the opposite is true? What if this interstellar object is designed to blend in with the rest of the cosmos? It's worth noting that the reason we detected 3I Atlas in the first place was because of its tumbling motion. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult to spot against the backdrop of stars. So maybe that motion is exactly what its designers intended. By tumbling, it avoids detection by alien civilizations. And if we assume that this object is only now entering our solar system, it means that it's been tumbling for thousands of years. Finally, there's the question of where it came from. We don't know exactly where 3I Atlas is headed after it leaves our solar system, but it probably came from somewhere else in the Milky Way. Scientists estimate that interstellar objects like this spend most of their time in between the stars where there are any planets or stars to get in their way. But that means that every once in a while they fly right into a solar system and cause all kinds of trouble. Maybe that's what's happened here. Maybe 3I Atlas was sent out centuries or millennia ago by an alien civilization and got lost on the way. Or maybe it was on course for another solar system entirely and just happened to wander into ours. In that case, it wouldn't be an interstellar object at all, but an interplanetary one. For now, this remains a mystery. But we do know that whatever it is, it's coming dangerously close to Earth. In 2024, it'll pass within 10 astronomical units of our planet. That's the closest it'll come to any planet in our solar system. And while that's far enough away that it won't hit us, it'll still be a great opportunity to learn more about this bizarre object. In fact, scientists are already getting ready. NASA has said that its infrared telescope facility in Hawaii will monitor 3I Atlas during its journey through our solar system, and astronomers are preparing to use their radio telescopes to track the object as it moves farther away from us. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait a bit longer to see what they discover. 31ATLAS is currently too dim to be tracked accurately, but as it approaches the Sun, it'll brighten and reveal more of its secrets. Whether 3IATLAS is an interstellar probe, a piece of space junk, or just your average asteroid, it's already broken the mold for what we think interstellar objects should look like, until we learn more about it. We can keep wondering about the mysteries of the universe and the possibilities that are out there. In November of 2022, our planet flew through a path of fire and ice with an interstellar visitor named 3IATLAS, which is also known as Comet Borisov. It was the first comet that came from outside our solar system, but we might have only had a small window to study it. And if it continues its current behavior, it could come back around and cause some serious damage to Earth and the rest of the solar system. We don't want that, so let's see what's going on. This is the space race. It's been 2 years since the world got very excited about a comet. This one was different because, unlike comets that start in our solar system, this comet didn't. It started out there among the stars. When it was discovered in October of 2019, scientists were able to trace its orbit back to beyond Pluto, at which point they knew it was coming from interstellar space. They called it Oumuamua for the Hawaiian word for scout. That would be a good name for a new sci-fi movie, by the way. Anyway, Oumuamua passed Earth in early 2017 at roughly the same distance as Saturn. But this latest visitor is a little different because it's already here. 31ATLAS entered our solar system in February of 2022 and made its closest approach to the Sun in May. And like all comets, it's made of dust and rock and gas. But unlike most comets, it's not on an elliptical orbit. Its orbit is hyperbolic, meaning it's not bound to the Sun like other comets. It's just passing through. We think it formed in a system of stars similar to ours, then got nudged out by a planet or something else, and then headed straight for the vast emptiness of interstellar space. We don't know where it's going after our solar system. It could be going anywhere, but while it's here, it's causing a bit of a stir. Comets aren't supposed to behave this way. In fact, they're not supposed to exist this way. Comets are chunks of ice and rock and cosmic dust that travel around the Sun in elliptical orbits. The reason they have these elongated orbits is that they have a gravitational interaction with the planets. But because 3I Atlas doesn't have that interaction, it's not slowing down and instead is speeding up as it heads further and further into deep space. So far, it's moved past Jupiter and Mars and will pass Earth on February 1st, 2024 right now. It's between the orbits of Venus and Earth, but it will continue to speed up as it moves closer to us. And here's where things get really interesting. No one is exactly sure what's going on here. If it keeps heading on this path, it will pass Earth at a distance of about 148 million kilometers. That's about 4 times the average distance between the Sun and Earth. Not dangerously close, but definitely within the range of our planetary defenses. And depending on how much mass this comet has, that could be a problem because no one knows what it weighs. Because of the speed at which it's moving, even a small amount of mass could pose a threat. If it weighs just 1 million miles, it could do some damage. So NASA and observatories around the world are keeping their eyes on this comet, and they've been tracking it since it entered our solar system. Here's what we know. It's probably a few hundred meters across, though it may be as large as a kilometer. It appears to be tumbling through space and maybe breaking apart, and it's covered in carbon-rich dust. Scientists are still trying to figure out how big it is and how fast it's moving and how solid it is. But none of those measurements are accurate unless you can weigh it. And that's the hard part. Because the only way to weigh a comet is to watch it fly by a planet and measure the gravitational tug that it makes on that planet. And to do that, you need a planet with a very particular orbit. If you want to weigh a comet, you need to catch it at just the right moment as it flies by your planet. You need to know the exact size of your planet and the exact orbit of your planet and the exact duration of the encounter. But the first time 3IATLAS passed a planet, it was too far away from Mars. The second time it passed, it was too far away from Jupiter. So we're waiting for the third time. And that will be soon. In February of 2024, it will pass Earth and we'll be able to weigh it. But there's another chance before that. It will pass Venus in December of 2023 and we'll be able to get some data then. And if we get lucky, it will behave like normal comets do when they pass planets. Normally, when a comet passes a planet, it accelerates in response to the gravitational pull. And if 3I Atlas does that, we can learn a lot about its composition, how much ice and dust and rock is inside. But if it doesn't behave like normal comets do, well then we'll know that there's something strange going on here. And that could tell us a great deal about where it came from and what it is made of. Of course, we would love for it to be mostly ice because that would mean that it would be dangerous. But if it's mostly rock, that would mean that it's more dense, it would weigh more, and if it weighs enough, that could be bad news. But look, if it's hurtling towards us at high speeds and made out of iron, there's nothing we're gonna do about it. We can't stop it. There's never been a civilization advanced enough to launch a ship to intercept a comet. But if we do figure out how heavy it is, that will help us understand its future path. It will also help us understand where it came from. We want to know if it's made of stuff that is common throughout the galaxy, or if it is unique to our solar system. In either case, this is an incredible opportunity for exploration and discovery. If it behaves like regular comets, it will tell us more about our solar system. If it behaves like nothing we've ever seen before, it will tell us more about what's happening out there among the stars. Our solar system is full of objects that we haven't explored. Pluto, Europa, Titan, Enceladus, Mercury, Ceres. There's so much out there that we're just beginning to understand. But every once in a while, something comes along that we've never seen before, and this is one of those moments. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you updated on everything involving 3i Atlas and other cool stuff that's happening in space. And if you want to learn more about this topic, check out the references in the description below. There are some great resources up there. Look, we do want to know if this is a harbinger of things to come, or if it's an isolated incident. We don't know if this is natural or if it's something more. Is this the first sign of intelligent life in the universe? Could it be a spacecraft sent by an alien civilization? Maybe it's a probe of some kind or a piece of debris from a long-ago battle. Who knows? All I know is that I'm glad we're finally paying attention. For centuries, comets were seen as omens of doom. They were associated with plagues and wars and other disasters. But over time, we learned that they were just chunks of ice and rock and dust. We learned that they weren't dangerous. But now it looks like we have a comet that's not like other comets. And maybe it's time we stopped seeing them as omens and started seeing them as opportunities. I'm the host of this channel,